on this. So let's look at the inertia verse. Bodhisattvas make vows and exercise the 6 parameters, and then when you're very well versed on this, because the 6 parameters it's in the bodhisattva path. So seeking the Buddha's way while transforming others, it's the great vehicle. So it's about us walking walking the Buddha's way is entering the door of Buddhahood. And to enter the door of Buddhahood, one has to enter through the door of Bodhisattvahood, and that is through the great vehicle. So severing delusions of views and thinking turns a Dharma view. Severing delusions is to get the clarity of the mind. But the clarity of the mind must first come with the purity of the heart. And that's through this making the vows and the great vehicle, which are cultivated the virtuous path. Then, and views, the severing delusions, purity, and the clarity of the mind, and thinking turns the Dharma view, which is where you attain wisdom. So this wisdom, the great wisdom of the Buddha vehicle, grants the power of fearlessness. Now, what does fear means? Fear means of the unknown. If there is unknown, there is no fear. So great wisdom of the Buddha vehicle means you know your wisdom is vast as the universe. So in vast of the universe, obviously, then you are no more fear. When you're no more fear, this is the power of fearlessness. Right? So in a such explanation, we must develop Bodhisattva aspiration by making the Bodhisattva vows, which are the 4 great vows. And Bodhisattvas carry out their vows by exercising the 6 parameters, which is in the Bodhisattva path. Now, this is the line that I picked up. And I think 2 to 3 days ago, and it was a Jingxi aphorism was circulated about meditative sitting. But also reminded, it's often said that meditative state does not come from sitting in meditation. It is cultivated in daily living as we drink tea, eat meals, and do chores. Everything we do can be a form of meditation of our daily living. So, the way of cultivating samadhi is through motion of our daily life, in our daily chores, and also in activities. Obviously, as you all know, for myself, I do my sitting every morning. So we must put an end to a view of self so that we do not get afflicted by the treatment of those whom we help. Now, we walk the Bodhisattva path. Is your vows here includes even after you attain Bodhisattvahood, you will return back. So returning back, you must not be afflicted by the treatment of those whom you help. So this is a training that we have to undergo as we do our activities now. Therefore, when those whom we are helping are difficult, we are helping us to cultivate patience, and it's allowing us to diligently advance in our practice to awaken our compassion and our powers of giving. And this part here, and it was something that I shared on Tuesday night on this also book sharing. And one of the points we discussed was we often get insulted in our life. I'm sure we do get insulted. So you want to train patience and perseverance. I think, you know what, I think we got to learn to be insulted most of the time. And until we're so used to the insults that it doesn't bother you anymore. And that is where the patience is. I mean, you want to learn to become a high jumper, you got to raise the bar, and you got to keep on jumping until you clear the bar. So with the power of fearlessness, we are unafraid no matter what the attitude is. So bodhisattvas do not allow others' appearance to cause them to retreat. Now, these appearances that we have is actually our internal division in our mental capacity, right? We distinguish by appearances, we distinguish by name, we distinguish by labels, and that, despite we do have that, But the point is, can we actually then interact with others without the internal boundary within ourselves? So parable, in the truth of elusiveness, that all phenomena are without true essence, and that their existence relies on temporary names and appearances. So likewise, the existence of sentient beings is based upon the skandhas, and the skandhas is the interaction between our mundane consciousness with the externality of conditions, resulting in form, feeling, perception, mental volitional activities, and their consciousness. So as the existence of how depends on the rich poles and beams. We'll come to that in the next page. And so Master said that even if all these things that arises, we need to see the emptiness of that. And in essence, actually is in emptiness. But that's an interesting point that I will share with you. The truth of elusiveness means everything has a temporary name and appearance, and people see those with great might and power. They fear them. So it's obviously, and that's what it is. The way that's the worldly world with the worldly ways. So the worldly ways is such that we put people in position, we put people in power of influence. So that will have a sense of influence, a sense of dominance over others, and we will and threaten their existence. So when that happens, and that's where fear arises, and and uh, and how this fear arises is to influence the mind to have that boundary within, and because we do not know what a powerful person is going to do to us. So what will happen when we cross the boundary and will be punished? So the Buddha thought that all phenomena are without true essence is a true principle. And that's because in a fourfold mindfulness, phenomenon is without self. So unfortunately, sentient beings take temporary names and appearances and use them to discriminate, as I mentioned earlier, and because of our internal division and the boundaries we have. So we sentient beings have attachments and we replicate our afflictions, leading many factors to converge, thus giving rise to these appearances. So the existence of sentient beings is based on the skandhas, leading to behavior. So we obviously, within us, there are two things, right? Number one is a desire. Number two is emotion. When your desire arises, you want something, you like something, or you dislike something. And the emotion is that the feeling you're going to get rising from that when you interact. And that's where the arising of the skandha will lead to either arising with desire or an emotion. So all these things that arises, even despite the emptiness of the phenomena, we can't help it. And that's the way the unenlightened mind works. So then we need to understand that behind the phenomena are actually without true essence. So let's try to, what I mean by without true essence. Now, I think there's a difference between, let me try to see whether we can delve further into this, is that, now, Master always say phenomena, there are three categories, right? Phenomena people, phenomena of matters, and phenomena of things or objects, right? People, matter, and objects. So if the phenomena of people is without true essence, and if that's the case, try this on someone close to you and give him or her a tight slap. Now, that slap that you do without the true essence. But the thing is, there's reality in that. So the reality of that temporary existence will give rise to the feeling, and that's where the skandhas are, right? So what is the difference between the reality and the truth? So the reality may not necessarily be the truth, and truth may not necessarily exist in reality. So therefore, we need to understand from that example that I try to give, is that to realize that emptiness without that true essence in there, the phenomenon of the true essence, is actually a state of our mind. It's not about that phenomena doesn't exist, but it's that realization of the emptiness of that phenomena. So when something is false and unreal, it is called illusory. Okay? So I think this word is, I use the direct words in the subtitle. I use the word unreal. I think what when something is true and really not false. So I'll give you the example of reality, because in the English language, it is real. But if it's false and untrue, it's called illusory. So Master gave an example of how the house is being built. And we have different posts and beams, and they come from lumber or the lumber from the trees. But originally, trees, big trees, however big they are, they come from a tiny seed. And some of them, they come as seed from a sapling, for example. Therefore, everything in the world is false and not true. So for this reason, they're called illusory. And original, they did not exist. So even our body, right? So it's only upon conception by parents that we come out, we take this form, but during the period we are so-called in a temporary existence, there is a reality to that, but that is not our true self. And that's what Master is trying to get into, the true self. But we are, therefore, if we then draw the analogy from here, we are actually not the true self. We're not the true self, where we are actually an illusory self. That's why we are unenlightened beings. So, but an unenlightened being doesn't mean that I should be ignoring you. I need to respect you. But in the process of my cultivation in respecting you, if I then realize that that is so-called your illusory self and your true self is something else, then I should be respecting you as a future Buddha. And that is where the never slighting bodhisattva or the past life of the Buddha is, and he realized that. So he doesn't see your illusory self, he sees your wondrous existence behind that illusory self, which is your emptiness. So in contemplation. So life in the worldly convention is filled with pretense. And that's where how the world works. We are in samsara. And the worldly way how the worldly ways are being constructed is by unenlightened monks who are powerful. So what seems to be is actually a mirage. But what is not becomes to be. One is not, because it cannot be seen, and truth cannot be seen. And sometimes the mirage that we see, it could be real, it could be unreal. So we need to have a discerning and a penetrative mind to understand that. So it is confusing because the ways of the world have become deceitful. And during this period of time that you have seen the past, especially the past 5 years, the past 10 years, and you see the amount of deceit which is going on in the world is getting bigger and bigger. And become the country is now at the world level. It's at the world stage right now. The pure heart is rarely found, but the decoration are plenty. Why are they plenty? Because everybody have actually decorate themselves, and because it's very easy to influence the mind, decorate themselves that they are the pure ones. So people can lie, but not the details. And that's where we need to learn what the truth is. So nature never lies, and the teachings always abide by the truth. So on relationship, this key in a relationship, one needs a key to open the mind door. And our mind, right? And I always say that you want to open the mind door, first of all, open the heart. No one can give you the key because the mind belongs to you, right? So you must learn to be your key maker. So you learn how to make your own key. The path teaches one to make your own key. And that's what Master has been teaching us all the time. The key is specific to yourself. So, but the way, which is what the Buddha has taught, the way of the Buddha, to make the key is the same for all, because the way is the universal path to liberation. The way to make the key doesn't mean the key is all the same, but it's the way. So that's why realization, self, is called self-realization. It's not, I can't realize for you, and we have to realize ourselves. So the key is specific for us. So therefore, learn to make your key to open your mind door towards liberation. Otherwise, other people will make the key for you, and they will be in control of your mind. Okay, Kanan brothers and sisters, thank you.
And unlimited gratitude to our brother Yun Kyong. Yeah, now that Brother Chin has given us the master key